So we did experience a dip this week, but for anybody that's new to the crypto market, these dips are very normal, certainly to this magnitude and even more, even in bull markets. Now, I'm going to dive into this week why I think that the HBAR is going to break into the top 10 as far as the coin market cap. Now, every single one of my shows could be talked about in that context, but we're going to touch on some of the specific things this week. Welcome back. I'm Brandon, the HBAR Bull, here once again to bring you the latest in the Hedera ecosystem. But as always, none of this is financial advice. Use it for entertainment or educational purposes only. So the first thing I'm going to dive into is one of the verticals that Hedera is excelling in, and that's Internet of Things. To be more specific, transactional Internet of Things. There's a lot of buzz in the Hedera community around the launch of the second set of transactional Internet of Things satellites to expand the WiseSat constellation. As a reminder, this ties into Hedera because WiseSat and SealSQ are going to launch a Hedera token as the medium of exchange between these Internet of Things objects like autonomous vehicles and components in smart cities and smart homes. The SpaceX launch carrying these satellites will take place next Tuesday at about 2 p.m. Eastern. The sister companies involved include WiseKey, WiseSat, and SealSQ, and they were all born out of a meeting in Davos. And from some of the conversations I've had with the founder, Carlos, it sounds like they're going to have some exciting stuff to announce this year as well. Now, Hedera is also expected to have a significant presence at Davos, and I'm talking to some of the people that are actually going to be there, and hopefully we'll be able to do some interviews directly from the event. Now, one of the things that I like about Hedera is it's not pie-in-the-sky stuff. So, speaking to these Internet of Things and smart homes, SealSQ announced that they've been selected to provide secure microcontrollers for millions of smart meters in the UK. And these meters will be designed to support the transactional Internet of Things vision of the SealSQ team. The aim is to install 26 million electrical smart meters in homes and businesses across the UK. Carlos, the founder I was talking about before, said this agreement marks a major milestone for SealSQ as we expand our footprint in critical national infrastructure projects. Our Vault 408 technology ensures the highest levels of security and reliability, making it the ideal choice for the UK's ambitious smart metering goals. And this is one of the reasons why I think that Hedera and the HBAR is going to continue to be successful. It doesn't matter what the vertical is, as long as crypto is involved, Hedera is there. It could be Internet of Things, it could be smart cities, it can be AI or payments, micropayments. If crypto is involved, Hedera is going to be there. But it's also how well we compete against some of these other top networks. Solana was absolutely the hot one last time, and it looks like the intern got a hold of the Hedera X account again and trolled Solana a little bit, replying to a Cointelegraph article. The Cointelegraph post said Solana proposes a new lattice-based hashing system to fix scalability issues and boost network efficiency. Hedera replied with a Mr. Bean meme, showing Mr. Bean doing a little copying. Now, from what I understand, Solana is not going to be implementing a hash graph system, but the fact that they called it a lattice-based hashing system sounds an awful lot like Hedera. Now, this isn't the first time that major networks have tried to copy things out of the Hedera playbook. Back before mainnet launched, the Libra project from Facebook, which has now become Sui, put together a council very similar to the Hedera Council. Since Hedera had pitched Facebook to join the Hedera Governing Council, there was little doubt that they had taken the council concept from what was presented. And Hedera let them know that they knew with a full-page ad in the New York Times. Now, that reply to the Cointelegraph post, as well as that ad in the New York Times, it was just cheeky, it was just fun. But I do think fundamentally Hedera competes on a lot of different levels. And it's not just technically, but business decisions they make as well, including, the fact that the HBAR fees are paid in HBAR, but priced in dollars. And we saw how these variable fees can have some nasty outcomes. There was a Solana user that paid over $200,000 for a single transaction. Now, these kind of sky-high transaction fees aren't unique to Solana. There's been fees in the millions on both Bitcoin and Ethereum. But because of the business decision to have fixed fees on Hedera, it's just not possible on our network. Hedera's fair ordering and lack of front-running also plays into this. And I do think that Hedera competes pretty well with some of the other layer 1 networks, which might be a little bit higher on the coin market cap list on the technical side of things as well. I remember this one story from Ryan Davies. He is with AdStacks. That was one of the early high volume use cases on Hedera. And he was talking about his experience using Stellar. Actually, I could probably dig up that clip. Let's take a look at that real quick.
So then we carried on going, and eventually we heard about Hedera. I said, oh, this is fantastic. This is everything we need. But it wasn't ready. So, okay, we'll just wait. So we were waiting and waiting. We said, well, we'll build a proof of concept. We built a proof of concept on Stellar, and it worked okay. We had problems with unpredictable fees. But the main thing is we turned it on, and somebody who worked there at the time said, oh my God, you can't do this many transactions per second. And they turned us off. Yeah, we were blocked off from accessing the nodes. So every time we try and go on another node, they would turn us off because they said, you're killing the network. I was like, okay, well, this is what you wanted, right? You wanted developers to use your technology, but obviously not at that scale at the time. Things might be different for them now. But Ian managed to track down somebody from Adira at an event, I think in 2017 maybe, and they said, look, it's coming, and we'll be ready for you, and the tech will work. And we said, it'll definitely work. Yeah, it'll work. And you won't turn us off? No, we won't turn you off. It'll work.
So this isn't to bash Stellar in any way. This is just an example of an experience that a real user had that had used both networks. Now, there's all kinds of claims out there around, speed and time to finality and security. And the one thing that makes me trust Hedera, the team behind it, and the HBAR that much more is the fact that every single time a claim comes out around Hedera, they go out there and they back it up. All right, now we're going to shift gears here a little bit. We're going to get into the hottest vertical in the space, and that's AI. Of course, last week we did a deep dive into Equity Lab, partnering with NVIDIA and Intel to embed Hedera-enabled firmware directly into NVIDIA and Intel chips. Hedera posted this clip explaining it a bit. This is hands down the biggest story in crypto that somehow happens to be flying under the radar, but there's more happening when it comes to Hedera and AI. First, the inventor of Hashgraph, Dr. Lehman Baird, who has a doctorate in AI and machine learning, is going to speak next week at the St. Moritz Blockchain Conference in the Swiss Alps on AI, blockchain, and quantum computing. This should further solidify him as a thought leader at the intersection of AI and DLT. In addition, we have another thought leader, Charles Adkins, former Hedera president, now CEO of the Hedera Foundation, who had a guest post on Bitcoin.com. Charles discusses the current lack of AI data integrity, accountability, and traceability, and how DLT and blockchain can address these issues. He touches on AI regulation, governance, and projects using Hedera like Prove AI. I was hoping he was going to touch more on the NVIDIA and Intel chip integration, but it seems like he was trying to stay a little bit more chain agnostic. And the developers out there are going to be excited about this next one. Hedera has launched an AI agent toolkit, and I could certainly try to tell you about it, but I'm certainly not going to do a better job than Jay Cool. He's one of the developer advocates at Hashgraph. He can show you.
Yo, what's up, guys? So, yes, I'm in bed, ready to hit the hay, but I've been cooking with the Hedera agent kit, and I'm really excited just to give a quick demo as to some of this new stuff which we've been doing now. Two things which I'm excited about. First thing is I've got my NeoVim config finally set up on Cursor, so now I can do like loads of AI stuff, and actually all of these new features which I showed you is totally done by AI. It's not even done by me. But let's get straight into what actually we've done. So as you can see, I'm in the Hedera agent kit open source SDK. And I'm just going to run the test script, which basically allows us to communicate with the LLM and all of the tools which you've created. And the new tool which I've just implemented is I've just added support for creating fungible tokens. That was already done. Transferring the tokens. Then I did querying HBAR, querying the balance, and also airdropping the token as well. And what I'm just going to show you is like doing all of that stuff all in one go. So, hey dude, create for me a token called JCool with symbol JC and supply 69420. There should be 0 decimals. Then airdrop 420 to each of these accounts. And then over here I go to my accounts. So I've got this one. And then I've got another account as well. I think that one. And boom. And that's it. Let's hit enter. So boom, it's created the token successfully. Initial supply, token ID over here. And then it's transferred it successfully. So it said a total amount of 840. 2 recipients. Give me a bit of text. Your token's been created. And then let's actually just double check it has come. So if I refresh that, token airdrop 420 JC. That's just one of the accounts. Let's have a quick query. How much HBAR I got? Doing the query, balance 843. You currently have 843 HBAR. So there we go. I mean, literally, guys, I told you it was easy to do. This took me about 20 minutes to do all of this. But yeah, I'm about to hit the hay, about to go to sleep. And yeah, keep grinding, my friends.
The tools that Hashgraph and others are putting out there is making life a lot easier on Hedera developers, and that shows in the amount of developer activity we're seeing on the Hedera network, which is always towards the top of the list of all the other networks out there. All right, so we're going to jump into a new vertical right now. I saw a podcast around ReFi, so regenerative finance, and it had Wes Geisenberger. He is the head of the Sustainable Impact Fund at the HBAR Foundation, talking about some of the developments there. So let's take a look.
I think COP was a really good event for us and for the industry. And I appreciate you bringing this up as kind of the first area of focus, because we as an industry need to be focused on the things that are actually going to change the world, where there's a need for public ledgers, where there's a need not just from a specific investor, but actually by folks who are trying to solve real world problems. And at the COP, there's plenty of different issues that are being negotiated as a continuation of the Paris Agreement, thinking about it not just from carbon markets, but all sorts of other issues. And as an industry, we had a lot of different forums actually at the COP that you may not think of as traditional blockchain forums or traditional areas where you hear the word tokenization pop up. But if you looked throughout the pavilions, one of the common themes was in the carbon markets, these assets should be tokenized. Not just tokens, but actually, what about digital MRV? Digitizing methodologies, digitizing data. In the process of the COP, the carbon markets under Article 6 has a few different areas of focus. One for government to government markets, covered in Article 6.2 and what's called an ITMO, or an International Transfer of Mitigation Outcome, and Article 6.4, which is, think of it almost as a continuation of the Clean Development Mechanism, or CDM, but in a new, higher quality, high integrity framework for international voluntary carbon markets. What's really neat about this is there's a call for many of these markets to have a registry system. And those registry systems are oftentimes thinking about tokenizing assets. But you have to really think about, what is this asset? It's a emission reduction of some type. It has to follow a set of rules. It has to follow a set of data. Oftentimes the folks who are looking to buy these assets need to prove that these rules are faithfully implemented, independently audited. There's probably a bit of a trust issue, which there's probably a bit of data that needs to be shared across multiple parties. There's a coordination issue. And the more you break things down, talking that way, folks in the Web3 world think about, this is a blockchain problem. This is a data problem. And the folks at the COP, actually, they often get that. They're looking for new tools to build high integrity carbon markets. They're looking for tools to be able to transfer carbon credits so that folks get paid for the work that they're doing. Folks get assets that they can prove have happened as emissions reductions in the real world. And I think that's one of the conversations that, folks may not realize is blockchain's starting to go mainstream in the climate process. And it's not necessarily the thing that you hear about when you talk about other areas in Web3 like DeFi, but you start to see elements of fintech, elements of new infrastructure required for carbon markets, new infrastructure required for carbon emissions tracking. We have concepts like a global stock take that probably will need some type of nested accounting. And these are all systems that haven't existed necessarily in the past. They haven't had the level of scrutiny where estimates may have worked 5 years ago, where we need more precision today. And so coming out of the COP, I guess one of my takeaways is that we have a really big opportunity for not just carbon markets, but emissions tracking and other natural capital assets to live on the public ledger. And as part of our mission at the HBAR Foundation Sustainable Impact Fund, our mission is to bring the balance sheet of the planet to the public ledger. We want to do it in a way that makes climate finance auditable. So the same accounts that live on that ledger, you can trace flows of whether it's fiat or stable coins into the same accounts that folks have that are also attesting data. But of course, test data, it has to have context. And that's where we focus on digitizing methodologies. One of the big concepts in Article 6 is what methodologies are going to be eligible for this voluntary market. There's hundreds of methodologies out there that have existed. And actually the CDM, has helped write hundreds of them. And those are all living in PDFs somewhere. It's really hard to discern what's high quality, what's high credibility. And you think, well, now there's 100 plus countries that are likely to have to implement a registry in their host country. And then they have to figure out, how do I implement all these rules? What tools and systems are out there? As part of our second goal of our fund is digitizing open source methodologies so that we actually have the playbook of how do we implement a system that traces every data point to get to a metric ton of an emissions reduction.
Now, Hedera is head and shoulders above other networks when it comes to solving problems in that ReFi space. So I think that's a vertical that we're going to excel in. But we've seen a lot of developments already. We've seen Alcott pledge over 500 million tons of carbon credits to that ecosystem. And another Hedera partner, 1MTN, has taken it to the next level. They are set to make 50,000 tons of digital carbon forwards available for sale on Graph as RWAs via Evercity. And of course, this is all built on the Hedera Guardian ecosystem. But even with all this good news, for HBAR to excel, we have to have the on-ramps in place to be able to onboard the capital during this bull run. And the most important part of that is going to be the ETF. For the most part, the HBAR market has been dominated by spot trading, but the ETF is going to be really important in the future. The first HBAR ETF will likely be the one from Canary Capital, which has been filed for a few months. And as we touched on last week, it may be one of the next altcoin ETFs to hit the market, possibly beating out XRP and Solana, according to Bloomberg. But we also just had some breaking news. Grayscale has just added HBAR to their list of assets under consideration for providing financial products for. But I still credit Canary Capital for getting this ball rolling. Of course, there's going to be others that see the way the wind's blowing and aren't going to want to be left behind. To dig into this, I'm going to be doing an interview with Eric Balkunis, the go-to expert in crypto ETFs, Steve McGlurg, the founder of Canary Capital, the firm that initially filed that HBAR ETF, and the driver behind a lot of this, Greg Bell from the HBAR Foundation. So I'm really looking forward to that one. But we do have some great interviews for you this week as well. One of the teams that I have been most impressed with has been Xeni. Now, they work in the travel industry. Like I said, we aren't giving up an inch, doesn't matter what the vertical is, and Xeni is absolutely excelling. So I caught up with Sachin once again to give us the inside track. Sachin, welcome back, buddy.
Thank you very much, Brandon. My God, how many months now? 5 months?
It's been a while. I stay on you because, I'm excited about everything you're doing at Xeni, but it has been a while. So can you tell us, just give us kind of some background, give us an update, a refresher on what Xeni is?
Absolutely. So Xeni basically empowers anybody who wants to resell travel. Travel reselling in the world is kind of centralized today and have been controlled by some major players in the world. Because of that, the travel innovation has gotten stifled, and it was completely primed for taking an opportunity and innovate further. So Xeni basically allow anybody to launch their white label booking engine. It's a no-code solution. Then there is a low-code solution where people can launch their browser extensions, mobile apps, and they can go on top of our API services. They can build a massive travel reselling opportunities, loyalty programs. They can sell it to their communities, and they can build a membership model programs. So think of us like a platform for travel innovators and entrepreneurs, and we bring the world's best integrations and best tech for them to be able to innovate further.
Sachin, that's one of the things that I love about Xeni is I love how your ads don't target degens or the crypto space, but those travel professionals that you're talking about. And that tells me that crypto isn't your business, it enhances your business. And that's exactly what we want to see. Can you delve into that a little bit?
No, absolutely. So the reason we don't target degens or the crypto community at the moment is we are at the cusp of innovating and building a pretty massive infrastructure where all these guys will be touching the ecosystem which is built on a Hedera hash graph. So our most important, I would say, the targeting piece is let's get the consumer attracted to us. Anybody who is using Xeni at this point is they are on a blockchain centralized technology. They own a Hedera hashgraph wallet, okay, and that wallet is a principal identity and a function within our entire ecosystem. So the day degens and crypto community will see it, they will jump onto it. We are just getting there. We haven't exposed ourselves to a lot of people at the moment, but we have quite a few users who are actually on the Web3 without knowing that they are on a Web3 user base, maybe millions.
So the Web3 aspect, how exactly do you use Hedera right now? How are those users using that wallet and maybe not even knowing it?
So if you look at Xeni's activities, is basically focused on like 5 to 6 major problems. Okay, and the number one problem on travel was the data transparency and security, where multiple centralized system, think of like a hotel, it has a different hotel confirmation number than an Expedia's confirmation number or Booking's confirmation number, or different suppliers. So there are multiple counterparties exist in travel industry who is taking the request from traveler and sending it to someone who is ultimate service provider, and there are like 4 middlemen, and everybody has a different data and different security system. So we basically ensured the transparency in terms of pricing, inventory management, commission structure without in between those counterparties. So that was the primary goal. And to keep that goal in mind, we launched Xeni Pay, where we could actually take the payments and settle between multiple counterparties. And we have processed around 4.5 million plus worth of transactions in the last, I would say, 7-8 months. So it's a pretty good beta for Xeni Pay. We'll be launching version 2, where we would see that goes to around few $100 million worth of bookings and settlement would happen. So the number one is data transparency and security. Number two would be the payments and settlement. These were the two major problems we decided to tackle with. Now we are like moving towards more of creating a decentralized marketplace where we have completely decentralized travel ecosystem, where we can have people launch their own travel booking engine, their own shop, and build on top of it. But it is completely decentralized within our ecosystem. And that's the economy we're about to build moving forward in 2025 and 2026. It's a very impactful. We are automating a lot of things, ensuring it's secure, tamper-proof, and it's easily doable. Also, you have to get all the players who are non-Web3 to get to the Web3 kind of functions. So in nutshell, these are 4 to 5 things we're doing. I think our immediate priority would be launching a loyalty program. We have recently done a beta, I would say a launch for the cricket NFT, which I can show you in a bit, or maybe I'll just show you right now. We basically launched, and this was on Sendex. There was a T20 World Cup. So anybody who has this NFT will be able to get the box ticket and also the 2 nights hotels. So you can see the event happened on June 29, 2024. This was the final match in Barbados. Anybody who was a holder of this NFT gotten a match ticket as well as 2 days hotel stay.
Very cool.
And it was tradable, transferable, and it was successfully tested last year. So that was a big outcome. So that was our first beta. We are looking forward to expand it, and you will also be able to have hotels, probably in future flights, not in the moment, with these kind of inventories.
Do you think you can walk us through the rest of your demo of your platform?
Yeah, of course. So basically, if you look at it, if you're on a hotel booking page on any OTA, but if it is a Xeni-powered OTA, and this is a demo, this is not real data, so the dates are older so that nobody could just go and try that. But as a normal user, you can use your credit card payments, you can use your crypto payment, you can have your debit card, whatever you would like to use. You agree, and hit book now. For in today's world, this is a confirmed booking. The reservation is confirmed. But there is nothing, it says that you own this asset or this booking is now tradable or transferable. So now what we do is like, hey, look, now you have made a reservation, it's $440, and you can, this is a refundable booking. So we say, why don't you create an NFT? We have just taken a bunch of wallets. So I'm gonna take one ecosystem wallet, Blade wallet. You connect your wallet here. Is going to wallet is connected. Now we will mint this reservation, which will create a contract and an ownership link. We would just do this. Now you can see there is a contract ID and an ownership link for this particular reservation. We would go to wallet. Think of this as a wallet. You have it here. You can look at your booking description. Now it's listed, and somebody else can go and just buy and connect their wallet, and they have to confirm the signature, and then the booking would happen. So this is our entire tokenization real world asset platform. You will be able to earn the rewards by just booking with us. You will be able to use your crypto to make the travel bookings. There are a lot of use cases we're bringing onto the table.
Sachin, I was going to ask you in the beginning when you talked about, the innovation in the travel industry has been stifled. What does that innovation look like? But I think you just answered our question right there. Yeah. So you gave us a data point a little bit earlier around how you're getting traction for the Xeni business, how you're attracting users. How has that looked in general over the past year? And what do you think that looks like over 2025 and how that might impact the Hedera network?
So we're looking at onboarding, I would not quote the exact number, but many, many million users, because we are launching or powering a lot of super apps who already have existing user base. But the moment they book the travel, we assign them the wallet. The moment they become our user within our ecosystem, we assign them the wallet. So we're looking at millions of users possibly transacting on the system, on Xeni ecosystem, which are already transacting on Hedera Hashgraph, because all of their payments, all of their activity is tied to a network where we have a single source of truth for all of their activity. The payments made, transaction happen, cancellation happen, modification happens, or they can now further enhance their use case by adding, I would like to mint my travel reservation. So we're looking at possibly, we will be bringing tens of millions of users in coming 12 to 18 months. We are already close. We have launched a big client, and we're right now in beta and certification testing that would onboard a lot of users to the network. And of course, the current Hedera network users will be able to benefit a lot by just participating in it, because we will be planning to launch soon an OTA dedicated to Hedera ecosystem users.
Understood. That's amazing. Sachin, this has been a great conversation so far. Do you have anything else you might want to pass on before we let you go?
Yeah, there are a couple of things I had on my mind, right? So as you asked me in the beginning of this, like, hey, what's happening in travel industry, where the innovation is coming from? Most of the travel innovation is stuck on the user side, B2C side. And there was a complete, I would say, a wall between on the B2B side where they can actually make it more efficient because of the old technology or technology limitations. And that's where we're building the entire ecosystem where we can take it from source to the users. So Xeni is definitely pioneering. I think we are one of the first one who launched the payment settlement engine. It's a huge boost to the real use case for any blockchain technology.
Well, Sachin, I could be more excited about everything that you're doing. We have HederaCon coming up. Maybe we could start booking our own travel and our lodging and all that kind of stuff through Xeni. But I'm looking forward to everything you have coming out in 2025. Thank you so much for hopping on, and good luck.
Thank you very much, Brandon.
I'm really excited about everything that Sachin and Xeni has going on, and I'm going to get him back on a fairly regular basis because they're going to have a lot of developments in the months to come. Now we're going to jump over to some fun stuff. We're going to get into some of the Hedera meme coins. I got this infographic courtesy of HBAR Paul, so huge shout out to him and all the great work he does in the space. It shows the top 10 meme tokens by market cap launched on memejob.fun. Now this isn't all the meme tokens in the Hedera ecosystem, or Grelf would be sitting at number 2, but this is just those launched on Memejob. At number 1, we have Dino, followed by SmackM and Gib. Those all have 7-figure market caps. The rest are between 2 and 500,000. We have Escobar at 451,000. Then 2 figures Inu, Hurt, Dino Pack, Larry, Fins, and Dosa. Now, I've covered Dino plenty already. I am in talks with the Gib team to get them on as well, but we saw the white paper from SmackM come out. They said most Hedera projects have prioritized collaboration over competition. In this spirit, Earthlings, Centex, and Hashback backed a Memetility token on Hedera, enabling established projects to instantly add utility to their tokens. The Smack Mosquito Telegram game also targets users outside the Hedera ecosystem, expanding Hedera's reach, boosting ecosystem growth, and strengthening connections among successful projects. So a little bit more on that Telegram game. They say join Smack a Mosquito on Telegram, start smacking mosquitoes in February of 2025, progress through the levels, and earn SmackM along the way. Occasionally, you'll unlock bonus levels where you can earn additional Hedera tokens, Steam, Centex, packs, and more in the future. And you're doing all this just by smacking mosquitoes on your phone. Holding SmackM, Pack, Steam, and Centex will also allow you to get a boost and multiply your earnings while playing the game. In the white paper, they also break down the tokenomics and provide a simple roadmap. Speaking of roadmaps, SaucerSwap also put out their roadmap. They're obviously putting in tons of effort. The one thing that really had me excited was the integration of Axelar and Layer 0, which will help us attract that cross-chain liquidity that we're looking for. And I was also excited to see that Citadel, the native Hedera hardware wallet, is going to be able to support all of your Hedera assets, including native staking, which hopefully will go up here in the near future. They're going to be shipping those hardware wallets out soon. So if you do have any of those claim NFTs, you can claim those at any time. Now, we have another interview for you today. We have Eric with Momental. Now, we've had Eric on before to cover some things around Third Act, but he's laser focused on consumer engagement around Momental right now, and I'm excited about what they're doing. So let's check it out. Eric, welcome. Thanks for hopping on today.
Thanks so much for having me.
Well, it's my pleasure. We're going to get right into the questions here. Eric, to start, can you explain what Momental is and how exactly it's using Hedera?
Sure thing. Momental is a Web3 agency, and we're really an implementation partner to help brands and companies adopt the benefits of blockchain, specifically Hedera.
Perfect. So, you were talking about those brands. Can you talk about some brands that you're working with now and the type of brands that you're targeting for the future?
Yeah, for sure. So our initial product that we developed was Third Act. Third Act Digital is a marketplace for theater collectibles. So helping fans and producers tokenize and collect their favorite moments from the performing arts. That gave us a lot of insight into the technology, its use cases within Hedera, and how fans can interact with digital collectibles. And we ultimately kind of white labeled our tech stack to be able to allow other brands and companies to create their own marketplaces and their own solutions for consumers and fans for their specific IP. So another brand or league that we work with is the MLPB, Major League Paintball. That's the global league for paintball around the world, or pro paintball. So that's everything from the NXL, which is the North American League, the WNXL, the Women's League, the EU, Asia, Latin America. So they have a ton of fans that are kind of a niche sport that is really starting to break out. They just got back onto ESPN last year and are getting more coverage there. So we're really excited to be working with them. And we've done everything from tokenizing their players into player cards to adding a layer of fantasy sports where we're using live stats from their stats feeds to connect them to the cards and create a fantasy game where you own the cards and you can compete and play and win real prizes from the league.
Oh, that's awesome. So I do have to ask, you talked about how it's broken up into different geographies. Do they have like a Super Bowl once, those leagues have finished their season? Do they actually have like a world championship?
They absolutely do. Yeah. Every year they have World Cup, and the winning teams from the other leagues come to the States and compete against a handful of the US teams, and they have a global tournament.
I'm kind of involved with this space more from a utility level with Twigital. We do some stuff with different sports leagues as well. We talked about Karate Combat. They're one of the ones that we're touching on now. I'm sure we have the potential for some collaboration around this stuff. But where do you see Web3 consumer and fan engagement going in the years to come?
I mean, that's the $1 million question right there. I think that there's a lot of tools out there. There's a lot of solutions that have been built that are waiting for more people to take hold of them and use them. I think the future of it is really more people kind of getting a hold of some of the things that are already built that are helping, create new assets or digital experiences for properties they already love. So I think you'll have Web3 and blockchain being more of a trusted layer of the internet for entertainment experiences. So if there's going to be more and more digital experiences, more and more digital companion show programs or digital tickets, having blockchain as a verification layer is super valuable. And I think that trust is going to be needed, especially as, and we could go down a rabbit hole around AI here, but especially as AI gets better and there's a question of authenticity around the content that we're consuming and collecting. Things like blockchain will help verify, the reals from the fakes.
Well, let's dive down that AI rabbit hole. There has been an awful lot of excitement around it from a lot of different places. Hedera is really grabbing the bull by the horns. There's a lot of potential touch points between DLT and AI. How's Momental looking at it?
Yeah, I think right now we're looking at it as that verification layer. I think the AI piece, I use it a lot creatively to kind of produce content. And I think that I'm still waiting to figure out how to connect it to blockchain in a way that makes sense beyond verifying, because I think it democratizes creation and creativity, AI. And so you need that certifying stamp of who's made this, who's contributed to it, who's featured in it, whether it is an entertainment digital collectible or it's a news article, and having something that, like, could the journalist that's submitting the article have something connected to the blockchain or be associated with their wallet and they sign off on an article? Could that help verify things? That's kind of where I'm thinking about it right now. Otherwise, I think we've got a ways to go in just making it simpler. I think those are some of the things I touched on earlier around making tools that, we already have some tools that we just need people to take a hold of and see how great they are. But while that, we wait for that adoption, I think just continuing to build things that people want, that gets them closer to the entertainment properties they love, getting them closer to the athletes and celebrities they love, and having some kind of a souvenir or like emotional souvenir from an experience, whether that's going to a concert, going to a sports game, going to a Broadway show that is authentic from the rights holder.
That makes perfect sense. Now, I think this went, when the internet first came out and when, social media first hit, there's a feeling from a lot of these brands that we know we need to get involved, but we don't know how to do it in the right way. What's your pitch look like when you're talking about a Web3 to these different brands that know that it is probably the future, but how do we actually get engaged?
Yeah, I think right now we're seeing a lot of gamified examples of Web3, and I think that's the shoehorn that we found a way in, which is sort of gamified customer loyalty in a sense. That's been pretty promising, and I think meeting customers or fans really where they are is always the thing we have to remember. And so we initially launched the Armory as a collectibles marketplace that just was purely based on collectibles and had fully official licensed assets that depicted the players, that had the league, had tournament logos and everything. And we added the fantasy element on as a layer because it didn't exist within the sport. And that opened us up to a whole other group of people who would just wanted to play fantasy. And they're like, and that kind of shoehorned them, to use the expression again, shoehorned them into, oh, there's these collectibles and what do they do? Why do I need them? And then, you meet that kind of tension there, which is the technology is still kind of polarizing itself. And sometimes it seems more like a hurdle than kind of an accelerant to the experience. So I think we talk about, to go back to your original question, we're kind of talking to people and brands around this space in a gamified kind of lens, making sure that we're pushing for what people want and meet them where they are. And if you think about, a lot of big brands already have large customer bases. Where is engagement lacking? Where is drop off? For example, paintball has 5 large tournaments a year. In between those tournaments, there's nothing, and it goes pretty quiet. And it's actually similar to karate combat in some ways. We have these tentpole moments where there's just insane engagement and everybody's watching and you can live stream it around the world. And then a day or two after, or really when the event stops, it goes really cold. It goes relatively less engagement. So it's about creating these kind of passive, almost like casual games that can sustain some interest over time and build more stake or interest in it from a fan perspective into your league, your world, your athletes, your celebrities.
Well, I think you're focused on the right place. Karate combat does get that huge amount of engagement.
Oh, it's amazing.
The amount of growth that they've seen has been amazing as well. But they are focused on the exact same thing of what can we do in the meantime? And they have different ways that they've tried to engage so far, but it's certainly a good focus area. All right, Eric, is there anything else that you'd like to pass on before we let you go?
I would say if you haven't already, check out mlpbarmory.com. That's really our flagship product that we're just doing some updates for 2025. We've got a really great kind of buy-in from the entire league, the players, the industry. So it's really great to have that wind at our backs. I would say check out that platform because you've got players joining and involved with it as well as fans. So there's a really interesting cross-section of consumers that are involved. And keep an eye out because we're going to be doing some updates all month long, some giveaways for the upcoming season. There's a new fantasy format where you can win rewards for individual tournaments and season long. So check that out and try to follow us on X as well.
We'll put that stuff up. But either way, thank you so much for coming on and good luck with Momental.
Thanks so much, Brandon.
All right, so we started out today talking about decentralized physical infrastructure and Internet of Things, and we're going to dive right back into that with another team that is doing great things in that space, and that's Neuron. Now, besides our regulars like Zep and Rob, we've had the founder of Neuron, James, on more than anybody, and he had a thread on why the new scheduled transactions are an absolute game changer for decentralized physical infrastructure. He says scheduled transactions are a special type of transaction on the Hedera network. They allow you to specify a number of signatories and rules that determine whether a transaction clears. They are especially powerful for commercial transactions as they allow your payments to be unlocked upon successful delivery of a product or service, much like an escrow service, by using trusted third parties. But that trusted third party doesn't have to be a single person or company. It could be a smart contract, an oracle, a group of people, or organizations. This can help make sure that any dispute resolution functions are fair to both buyers and sellers. So how does this work? A buyer transfers a transaction amount to a shared account in order to initiate a purchase of a product or a service. There are 3 signatories on the account: the buyer, the seller, and the trusted third party. If the product or service is delivered successfully, the seller can initiate a transfer from the shared account using a scheduled transaction. Then, the buyer has up to 30 minutes to sign the transaction. If they don't, the seller can ask the trusted third party to sign. If the product or service is not delivered, the buyer can initiate a scheduled transaction from the shared account and ask the trusted third party to sign for them if the seller won't do so. So either way, the correct person gets paid or refunded. The art of using the scheduled transaction feature is in the designing of the properties of the trusted third party. At Neuron, we're building validator nodes ran by community members that will work on a proof-of-stake type mechanism. Validator nodes will be required to stake NRN tokens and run the validator app. The app will automatically vote on any payments disputes in the network. If you vote with the majority, you get rewarded. And if you vote in the minority, you get slashed. In summary, the Hedera scheduled transaction feature is a fantastic tool if you're building permissionless DPIN or agent networks. So why is this a good example of why Hedera and HBAR are going to continue to excel? Well, of course, it shows a great feature that's on Hedera that is useful for a business, but it also shows that we attract these kind of team members that figure out how to use these features to enhance their own business. And Neuron is one of the best businesses I could think of in the entire crypto space. And we have a founder here that's willing to come out and explain it in details that we can all understand. All right, so with that, let's jump into some Hedera network analysis and the HBAR market. In terms of throughput, we're still cruising around in the single-digit TPS with spikes to a few dozen. But things like Hedera technology being embedded into Intel and NVIDIA AI chips, I don't think that will last for too long. Hedera has created about 26,000 accounts this week, facilitated 600,000 NFT transfers, and 18,000 fungible token transfers. Taking a look at the crypto and HBAR markets, Bitcoin is down about 3% on the week, but up about the same over the past day to just over $95,000. HBAR, like most alts, is having a tougher week, down about 10%, but is up 6% on the day to 28.4 cents. We're still range bound, and though it wasn't a higher low, we bounced off the previous low at about 26.4 cents. I'm really pretty confident with HBAR specifically, but also the crypto market more broadly. If HBAR continues north, 32 cents is where I'm hoping to see some strength. Also, I want to thank all of you who donated to keep the channel going. We're now covered through February, which will allow me to get out to HederaCon. And now let's put a bow on HBAR breaking into the top 10. First, the trend is your friend, right? So we've gone from number 50 on the coin market cap list all the way down to number 17. And we are consolidating there, but we're holding really strong. In addition to that, we have some of the best use cases, like what I said around the NVIDIA and Intel chips. Of course, we started off with everything that SealSQ is doing around Internet of Things. We touched on Neuron, and then everything that we haven't talked about today, like Karate Combat and so many others. In addition, it looks like Hedera is going to start to lead with some of these financial products like the ETFs. And finally, we have Charles going to the Hedera Foundation, and he's already made it clear that he wants to focus on retail. It doesn't take a rocket scientist. I think that Hedera needs to get competitive staking rewards, and I think we're going to see that out of that shift. I mean, what else are you going to do? Of course, there's things like DeFi you can focus on and other retail applications, but I think the main thing to send that message is to have those competitive staking rewards, and I think that's exactly what we're going to see. Looking forward to next week on Sunday. I'm hoping to get Brady back to do another DeFi Corner, and as I mentioned, we're going to have that interview with Greg Bell, Steve McClurg, and Eric Balkunas, and you couldn't find better people on this planet to talk about the ETF with. I'm working on getting Mingo back for another update, and if anybody has any questions or curiosities around what I've talked about today, go check out my channel. You can do a search for pretty much any topic or team that was mentioned, and you're going to find something from my Built on Hedera series, which will give you all the information you could possibly want. That's pretty much all we have. We'll see you next week.